Well, it's begun. All of the defensive free agency is starting to pick up pace. The Chiefs have a couple of things that we need to look at. We're going to dig right into it today on the Chiefs defensive free agent review. Welcome back, friends, neighbors, new folks, old folks, subs, non-subs. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue on the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL. And this is a unique day. We did the offensive side of this last week. I want to come back. I know a lot of you asked about who's available and who's not in free agency from the Chiefs. This is a Super Bowl winning team. And they have a lot of free agents, and you want to get an idea of where that's going and what it can be done, right? So if you're new around here, make sure you hit the sub button, hit that bell, and the little drop down that says all notifications so you know when something comes up. Leave your comment below on what you think about this list, and leave a thumbs up if you particularly like this one. I appreciate it. We have some more things coming for you, some new t-shirts still on the works. Got a couple little wrinkles visually that I'm going to throw at you guys in the next couple weeks, months. We'll see when they get done. As well as some more contributions from Dan Harms and a couple, maybe some new people. We'll see what happens. We're going to make this the central hub. If you do nothing else Chiefs-related all offseason, make sure it's RGR Football for the podcast, for all the insights and all of this stuff. And right now, this is where we are. Some exciting news, at least for me. If you were on the live stream the second night of March, you saw a lot of folks giving me static about a particular player at the cornerback position that I like that might have some interest that I've been kind of homering for, given that I am a Kansas Jayhawk. It's starting to come true. A lot of talk. Tyrann Mathieu and Chris Harris Jr. going back and forth. It's going to be interesting to see what develops. It seems as though there is some mutual interest there. So we're going to play that by ear. When we know, I'll let you guys know, and I'll give you, obviously, a reaction. Now, Chris is a free agent, and they traded for A.J. Bouye. He's now in Denver. So that's going to let Chris leave. And this is happening quite a bit. Yannick Ngakoue has asked to be traded. They're going to franchise tag him, and then they're going to trade him. He does not want to play in Jacksonville anymore. And while that does happen, and it seems that there are a number of players that really want out of the situations they're in, I don't think Chris Jones is one of them. He seems to be really willing to stay here and try to work it out. It's all going to come down to the money in the contract and making sure that what is generally a defensive lineman's biggest contract, his second one, pays him, sets him up for the rest of his career and his life outside of football, etc. So you got to get what you got to get. And I understand trying to maximize your value and get paid what you're worth. Hopefully that can work out. I'd like to see it happen. We'll see if it actually does. And Chris here, you can see, leads the top of the list of the Chiefs free agents on the defensive side. Very easily, he was in the talk, could have been a Super Bowl MVP. His defense, his effect on the defense is unquestionable. You can't really go anywhere else. It is there. It is true. He's an excellent pass rusher. He is a dominant force on passing downs. Yes, he leaves a little bit to be desired on the run sometimes. Honestly, it's more inconsistency than anything. I can't say that he's a bad run defender. It's just not consistent. So it looks like the tag is going to be a little over $16 million. The Chiefs do plan on putting the franchise tag on him. And so what that means is that Chris Jones is guaranteed at that point, so long as he eventually signs the tag. It is kind of an extended contract offer that has to be left out there, and then he can sign it and accept it. That he will make $16 million this season. Whether it'll be in Kansas City or not, that's what we have to try and figure out. So they will tender that to him, and he will have options. He can let it go. Let some negotiations start. I assume that when that happens, a lot of teams will come calling. With this situation with Bouye to Denver and Chris Harris being a free agent and Yannick Ngakoue and Byron Jones being allowed to hit free agency, there's a lot of teams that want free agents but don't want to have to pay for them. And by making a trade on a tag, you can get in front of a lot of teams, not have to bid up in a bidding war. And so I think that there will be a lot of interest for Chris Jones if he is tagged and the Chiefs make it known, hey, we're going to take offers on him. If that does happen and the value comes in at a first and a third, first and possibly a second, that's, for your franchise, that's double dipping in two picks that allow you to select starters, potential starters. That's 2 for 1 while saving money to give to Mahomes and everybody else. That makes sense. So that is a possibility. But Chris Jones is just the highlight of this list. We're going to go through this. Emmanuel Ogbah had a great season until he got hurt. I think the best season of his career, and I feel like he was just starting to click, just starting to make an impact. I would like to see him return. Can he come back on what this was his rookie year that he was playing out. So this 1.6 that you see here, which was his average per year, that's pretty low because he was still on his rookie contract. Now he's injured. So I don't think he's going to have the market that he would have had he played out the season, finished it on the active roster, etc. But he is going to be more expensive at this. Can you get him back for an average of 4 a year? Possibly. And I think if you can, you do. I would like to see that. I think he's just scratching the surface. I think it's starting to click for him, and playing specifically with Coach Daly and Coach Spagnuolo, I think that's something that can help Emmanuel Ogbah's career. I think it's good for his career to be in Kansas City. I think it's great for Kansas City for him to be there. Let's see if they can get that done. Xavier Williams got hurt. He did play some snaps late in the season, but at this point, at 28, I think his age is starting to catch up with him in particular. That doesn't always happen for defensive linemen. Some they can play through to their 30s. I'm not sure that's the case with Xavier. A hometown guy, got ties. I just don't know if they're going to want him back or if he's willing to come back on what would be, again, a pretty cheap salary if he comes back near where he is now. Inflation will come in, so if you get him for 3 per year, I think that's about what the team would do, and they like what he's given them to this point. I just don't know if they feel, especially if they're looking at the possibility of losing Chris Jones, if that money shouldn't be spent elsewhere on somebody that gives you a lot more pass rush. That isn't something that Xavier Williams does. He's going to help Noddy and Saunders against the run, and hopefully Mike, we'll talk about that in a minute, but not a big pass rush threat. So Darren Lee is on this experimental list, and he was an experiment. I feel like it was a good move by Brett Veach to bring him in, to see what he had, to try to make it fit. It didn't work out. Clearly, after starting a few games this season, he got benched, didn't make a comeback. It was just one of those situations while a guy that was thought to be a coverage linebacker didn't really excel in coverage and clearly struggled against the run, as we kind of expected. I don't expect him to be back. I don't think the team's going to have interest in bringing him back. And quite frankly, I think he can find a better fit for himself elsewhere. So I think it's probably best for both parties that they part ways and he moves on. And that brings us to Mike Pinal. I like to have Ogbah back, definitely. Mike Pennell I would like to have back too, because he and Reggie Ragland make the difference against the run this last season. That's still going to be an issue. Teams are still going to try to run on you because they're going to perceive that they can keep the ball away from Mahomes if they can run the ball. That's not a bad plan. You have to execute it on your drives, and so it does put a lot of pressure on that offense. If that offense is going to particularly slow down the game, you have to be able to score if you're a Chiefs opponent doing that. Mike Pinal helps you disrupt that. He is not a big pass rush threat. He's 29 years old, as we see here. We saw that he played for $800,000 last year, and that is a bargain basement for the impact that he had on the Chiefs' ability to win games, specifically against the Titans, against the Ravens, against 2 teams that will be back next season, I feel. I think they will be in good shape. So I think it's imperative that Mike Pinal might be just as high as Chris Jones on the list of priorities in terms of trying to sustain this defense. Terrell Suggs, I think it was a great way that they got him, even at 38 years old, that he came in, was able to give a little bit of juice, a little bit of sizzle to this defensive end group, to the defense in general. I have a feeling, just by the way that it went, that Terrell Suggs is ready for retirement. Maybe sign a one-day back in Baltimore, I don't know. But I think he wanted to go back to Baltimore. I could see them bringing him in as a situational pass rusher too. I think as much as he enjoyed winning a Super Bowl, I don't think that he's going to plan to be back with the Chiefs. I don't know that the Chiefs have that interest either. It was good at the time, got him over the hump, but now you got to get younger at that position, especially with the injuries that we've talked about. We have to see them either draft or pick up some low-end free agents that they feel have upside. I don't know that Terrell Suggs is going to be back. And that brings us to the cornerback group. And there's a lot of them that you can see here, and this is why. Kendall Fuller is the big one. He is going to be a free agent. You can see that he has, at 25, a lot of time left in the league. I thought that his switch to the safety position was the best thing the Chiefs had going late in the season, especially after Juan Thornhill got hurt. I feel like Fuller honestly has found his niche. I think Fuller is going to be a safety going forward. His brother's a great corner. I feel he's a safety at this point. I feel like he can use his skills definitely better in zone than man. and his brother's better in man. I feel like that's a good spot for him. So I'd like to see him come back as a safety, fill that spot at the back, especially for Juan Thornhill, who isn't expected back until camp. We don't know when, and we don't know how much. So I'd like to see him be there to fill in that gap and kind of keep the band together in the secondary. Keith Reeser got hurt early. He had a good run in the AAF. I don't expect him back despite the need at cornerback. I think they have to go outside. You know what you have in Keith Reeser. He's a restricted rights free agent, but he's getting up there, 29, which surprised me. And I feel like at that money, even at that age, I don't think that they're going to tender him anything than the original round, which is, I believe he was undrafted. So there's no chance really that you're going to get any compensation for him. I think they have to look elsewhere to try and bolster that group. Does that mean that you try to bring Bashaud Breeland back? I'd love to see it. He was on kind of a one-year kind of deal, $2 million for him to play last season to win a Super Bowl. I think he'd be interested in coming back, but I think somebody will give him a whole lot more money. I do expect him to sign a big free agent contract somewhere else. Big in terms of, an average salary of 8 to 9 is my guess. We're not talking Byron Jones money or even Reggie Roby or Bradley Roby. Sorry, Reggie, I know you're punting somewhere. But I do expect that Bashaud Breeland's going to get an offer he can't refuse from another team. Mo Claiborne is on this list too. With the falling out that he had late in the season, I don't expect Mo Claiborne to be back. I just don't know that while he and Bashaud Breeland, especially some of the younger guys talked about them during the season, especially during that lull where they were losing and they were not feeling good, that they were calming influences. Their experience helped them get through that. I think that that's rubbed off at this point. I don't know that Morris Claiborne has much more to offer. I'm not sure that the Chiefs bring him back at his age, even at that lower salary. I don't think that it's going to be worth it. I expect them to get a really big group of corners coming in to see who can battle for it. And not to skip over my guy, Reggie Ragland, because along with Mike Pennell, I think he needs to be back. I think he gives you the ability to stop the run in a platoon situation. Would you like to have a 3-down linebacker that doesn't have to come off the field, that can cover and attack the run? Yes, of course. That would be my personal dream, actually. I want that kind of athlete, but they're rarer and rarer. And as we see that the athleticism of this draft class, it does feed into being harder and harder to find an actual run stopper. So I'd like to see Reggie back as, again, a platoon player, a run-first player that doesn't necessarily play a ton of snaps, but I'd like to see him in Kansas City. I think he can help. And last on the list is Jordan Lucas. If they were to lose Fuller, I could see Lucas coming back because of the familiarity, because he knows the scheme, but I don't think that he brings enough athleticism to really help out. You still have Armani Watts, so you still have a more of a playing in space free safety type, so I think that's an option as well. I'll be interested to see. I know they like Jordan Lucas. We'll see if he comes back. That's how I see these falling. Chris Jones, Mike Pennell, Fuller, and Ragland are the priorities for me, and I'd like to see the Chiefs retain those guys. If they can do that, I think they're going to be in good shape to try and put together a few more pieces in free agency and a few draft picks and make another run. So let me know what you think. I'm real excited about where they're going. I love this time of year. I will be your personal take on the GM action all offseason. That's my bread and butter and what I do the best. So hope you guys are in for it. I appreciate you guys watching this one. Make sure you check these other videos, and I'll be back with you later in the week. Thanks for watching now, and I'll check you next time.